สัมมนาที่จัดโดยทางศูนย์ให้คำปรึกษาและพัฒนาผู้บริหารทางธุรกิจแห่งมหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์นะครับในหัวข้ออนาคตประเทศไทยในยุคดิจิทัลหรือ Digitalized Thailand นะครับซึ่งเป็นเรื่องสำคัญเราบอกว่าประเทศไทยเราจะเป็น 4.0 เนี่ยเราพร้อมแค่ไหนเราพร้อมแค่ไหนในด้านกฎระเบียบเราพร้อมแค่ไหนในเรื่องการดึงดูดนักลงทุนต่างชาติให้เข้ามาลงทุนสร้างแพลตฟอร์มสร้างเครื่องมือดิจิทัลให้กับธุรกิจไทยได้ใช้ให้กับ SME ไทยได้ใช้เราพร้อมแค่ไหนในเรื่องทักษะของบุคลากรคำถามพวกนี้จะมีคำตอบในกิจกรรมวันนี้หลายประเด็นผมเชื่อว่าเป็นประเด็นที่น่าสนใจแล้วก็เป็นประเด็นที่อยู่ในความสนใจของคนในสังคมเป็นอย่างมากทั้งเรื่องการเก็บภาษี e-commerce ซึ่งกำลังจะเกิดขึ้นเป็นเรื่องสำคัญเรื่องใหญ่มากสำหรับประเทศเราจะเก็บได้จริงไหมเราจะเก็บแล้ว effective ไหมคำถามพวกนี้เรามีตัวแทนจากสำนักงานเศรษฐกิจการคลังเรามีตัวแทนจากสถาบันวิจัยนโยบายการคลังมาพูดให้ฟังมาแชร์ประสบการณ์แชร์ความคิดแชร์ไอเดียแล้วก็เรามีทั้งวิทยากรที่เป็นผู้เชี่ยวชาญจากทิ้งทั้งระดับโลกมาพูดว่าถ้าเขาศึกษาเรื่องระบบภาษีในประเทศต่างๆสำหรับเรื่องอีคอมเมิร์ซสำหรับเรื่องดิจิทัลเขาทำมันยังไงบทเรียนเหล่านี้สามารถจะใช้เป็นประโยชน์กับประเทศเราได้อย่างไรคำถามพวกนี้เป็นคำถามที่ไม่ใช่แค่คนในห้องนี้นะครับผมเชื่อว่าคนทั้งประเทศอยากรู้คำตอบว่าสิ่งที่ดีที่สุดสำหรับประเทศไทยคืออะไรวันนี้นะครับผมได้รับเกียรติจากท่านรองศาสตราจารย์ดร.พิภพอุดรนะครับคณบดีคณะแพทยศาสตร์และการบัญชีมหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์นะครับเป็นผู้มากล่าวเปิดงานสัมมนาในวันนี้นะครับผมขอเสียงปรบมือให้อาจารย์พิภพด้วยครับ
สวัสดีครับ Good morning ผมเข้าใจว่าเรามี instant translation นะครับก็จะขออนุญาตต้อนรับทุกท่านเข้าสู่งานสัมมนาอนาคตประเทศไทยในยุคดิจิทัลนะครับซึ่งก็เป็นเรื่องที่เป็นทิศทางของประเทศที่คาดว่าเราต้องมุ่งหน้าไปทางด้านนั้นอย่างค่อนข้างแน่นอนประเด็นคือเราจะต้องเตรียมการอย่างไรเพื่อให้ประเทศไทยนั้นก้าวสู่ยุคดิจิทัลได้อย่างมั่นคงและก็เป็นประโยชน์การพัฒนาในด้านเศรษฐกิจเท่านั้นแต่โดยเฉพาะอย่างยิ่งในด้านสังคมที่จะต้องทำให้ดิจิทัลเป็นเครื่องมือสำคัญในการลดความเหลื่อมล้ำทางด้านเศรษฐกิจทางด้านสังคมดิจิทัลต้องเป็นเครื่องมือที่ทำให้ทั้งคนพัฒนาการเรียนรู้ทั้ง SME ขนาดกลางขนาดเล็กสามารถเข้ามาอยู่ในเวทีการแข่งขันกับธุรกิจขนาดใหญ่ได้ทำให้ธุรกิจของเราสามารถที่จะก้าวไปสู่การขยายตัวไปยังต่างประเทศได้ทั่วโลกแต่จะเดินไปอย่างนั้นได้เนี่ยการเปลี่ยนแปลงที่สำคัญใน3ด้านที่จะต้องเกิดขึ้นในด้านกฎระเบียบนโยบายซึ่งแม้ว่าจะเป็น soft infrastructure ของฝั่งภาครัฐที่จะทำให้ระเบียบนโยบายตลอดจนมาตรการต่างๆไม่เพียงแต่เกื้อหนุนให้เกิดความก้าวหน้าในด้านดิจิทัลเทคโนโลยีแต่ยังต้องเอื้อให้เกิดการขยายตัวและการลงทุนได้โดยง่ายการเปลี่ยนแปลงทางด้านโครงสร้างพื้นฐานที่รัฐต้องเข้ามาสนับสนุนให้เอกชนได้ลงทุนการลงทุนร่วมการที่รัฐต้องให้ความสำคัญกับการสร้างแพลตฟอร์มเพื่อเป็นสปริงบอร์ดหรือการเจริญเติบโตของภาคธุรกิจต่างๆและที่สำคัญที่สุดก็คือการสร้างคนของเราให้มีความเท่าทันมีดิจิทัลลิเทเรซีมีดิจิทัลเคปบิลิตี้ที่จะทำให้แต่ละคนนั้นเติมศักยภาพของตัวเองงอกงามทั้งในด้านการเรียนรู้ทั้งในด้านการพัฒนาต่างๆไม่ใช่แต่เพียงเรื่องการสื่อสารแต่เป็นเรื่องของการนำมาใช้เพื่อยกระดับคุณภาพชีวิตเราต้องทำให้ดิจิทัลไทยแลนด์นั้นมุ่งไปสู่ความเป็น better life better society ต้องทำให้ดิจิทัลไทยแลนด์นั้นทำให้ชีวิตคนดีขึ้นสังคมดีขึ้นผมขออวยพรให้การเสวนาครั้งนี้ประสบความสำเร็จด้วยดีและขอบพระคุณท่านวิทยากรจากภาคส่วนต่างๆทั้ง Asia Foundation แล้วก็บริษัท ต่างๆที่เข้าร่วมในครั้งนี้รวมถึงกระทรวงการคลังและหน่วยงานราชการอื่นๆขอต้อนรับทุกท่านเข้าสู่การสัมมนาอนาคตประเทศไทยในยุคดิจิทัลอีกครั้งขอบพระคุณครับสวัสดีครับ
ขอกราบขอบพระคุณคณบดีคณะพาณิชยศาสตร์และการบัญชีมหาวิทยาลัยธรรมศาสตร์ท่านผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์ดร.พิภพอุดรนะครับที่มากล่าวเปิดงานในวันนี้และขอสวัสดีท่านผู้มีเกียรติทุกท่านและวิทยากรด้วยนะครับวันนี้ผมก้องภพจุนเจริญรับหน้าที่เป็นพิธีกรตลอดงานในวันนี้ครับและในช่วงแรกของงานสัมมนาในวันนี้นะครับผมจะเป็นการบรรยายในหัวข้อ Online Platforms and Inclusive Growth นะครับโดยมีพิธีกรนะครับจาก Asia Foundation นะครับคุณโทมัสพาร์คนะครับผมที่จะมาเล่าเกี่ยวกับการใช้เครื่องมือออนไลน์เพื่อการเติบโตของประเทศไทยในยุคดิจิทัลนะครับผม Please welcome Mr. Thomas Park from Asia Foundation
Sawadee Krap. Good morning. We're getting the presentation ready. Okay, great. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here this morning, and my thanks to Thammasat University Business School for inviting us today. So what I'm going to do is to talk a bit about how online platforms can change people's lives from a user perspective. So our organization is a development organization. So we look at issues like poverty, inequality, economic growth, etc., and as well as improving governance. And the issues that we care about are about how applications like this can help address those significant economic and social challenges. So what I'm going to do today is to talk a bit about some work that we recently did with Google to look at how online platforms are transforming lives in Asia. And then I'm going to draw a couple of examples specific to Thailand, so we can look at this issue in Thailand and some of the huge possibilities here in Thailand. Okay, let's see if I can figure this out. There we go. Okay, great. So online platforms are not a new thing. People have been coming together to either transact or to work towards shared interests for as long as people have been living together. Markets today, in some ways, are a very crude and form of online platform. But what we're talking about now, obviously, is different because this allows people access to each other from very great distances and reduces many of the barriers that have prevented buyers and sellers, for example, in coming together. Now, what I'm going to do is first just explain, from our perspective, what is an online platform, and then why is it different from a more traditional marketplace, okay? So the basic problem, of course, is that you have two groups that want to interact with each other. The idea is producers and consumers, but that can be lots of different groups. That could be students and teachers. That could be people in need and people who want to donate to them or help them. It could be various kinds of groups that want to come together but have difficulty. The great distance might separate them. It could be transaction cost. It could be simply lack of information, inability to find the other, for example. So there's many reasons why it's difficult for them to come together. So in many cases, what happens is consumers or producers spend enormous amounts of money trying to find producers, or they go down wrong paths and simply can't find anybody. Others are just going around in circles all the time. I'm going to use a couple of stories to sort of illustrate this, just to try to make it as clear as possible. Recently, I was trying to find some silk tapestries. Now, Thailand, of course, is known for having beautiful silk tapestries, particularly from the north and the northeast. Around the same time, I also did several visits to different parts of Thailand. I was in Sakonnakhon, I was in Chiang Mai, and also in the south. And everywhere I went, I looked through the guidebooks and tried to find, where can I buy a beautiful silk tapestry? I looked on the internet. I used Google. I tried many different ways. And I could not find good places to buy a silk tapestry, despite the fact I was going out to places where I knew that they were actually producing them nearby. So then I went to a place down the street here, where a very expensive place called River City, where they sell arts and artistic products. And in this enormous mall, I could only find one store that was selling silk tapestries, contemporary silk tapestries, despite the fact that I know that there are tens of thousands of producers in rural and remote parts of Thailand, right? So I have a problem. I'm a consumer, I could not find producers, okay? At the same time, about a few weeks before, I was in Isan, the northeast, which is the poorest region of Thailand. And while I was there, I visited a number of different areas. Still couldn't find silk tapestry producers, but I did find, for example, we visited a place where they produce kaunio, or sticky rice, incredibly good quality. Later, we visited a place that made handicrafts using indigo, beautiful, beautiful designs, purses, different shawls, etc. Both of these places had world-class goods, but they had no way of actually selling in Bangkok, let alone internationally. And so, for example, the kauniao producer was saying that actually the only way that they had been able to sell in Bangkok was to provide samples to a yoga instructor who would sell them after the yoga class. That was the only way they could figure out how to do it. Now, these, of course, were people that were very good at producing it, but really had no idea how to market it and how to reach the Bangkok market, right? The people that were selling the indigo products would rely on people coming to them, but had no way of selling in Bangkok directly and had no way of actually reaching an international audience. While we were sitting there with them, I was looking at Google Maps, and I said, you know, actually 3 people have rated you on Google Maps, right? They had no idea. And actually had very high ratings. Online platforms address those problems. They allow people to both link to international markets, and they allow me, somebody who would like to buy 10, 20 silk tapestries, to actually find them from producers in a much more effective way. So producers and consumers are rarely in close proximity. Rarely do we have a situation where you have perfect information. But with online platforms, a third party can provide a space which allows the producers to interact with that platform at very low cost, and the consumers as well, and have much better services. For example, platforms will often provide secure transactions, will often provide the ability to match different producers and consumers, will often provide ways of quality rating, so that people are more informed, etc. So services that individuals would never have if they just interacted together, online platforms at very, very low cost can provide that. Now, ultimately, what we should be thinking about, and what we are thinking about at the Asia Foundation, is the effect of this is that not only can it reach producers and consumers that wouldn't have otherwise been able to connect, but it also creates the opportunity to dramatically expand the number of actors that are in a particular sector or marketplace. So by reducing the barriers to entry, you may have 15 silk tapestry producers in the Northeast today. In 2 years, you may have 2,000. Or you may have different producers that are doing it more effectively and reaching a broader market. And that is a way of really, really increasing economic opportunities in those regions, right? So this is transformative stuff. And there is a human story behind this, which is really, really compelling, okay? Now, of course, one of the challenges for us is connectivity, right? So this doesn't work if you don't have enough people online. Well, I can tell you, and I think everybody in the room knows, that that's really not a problem anymore, right? So today in Asia, we have 1.3 billion, actually, that's the growth. So just from the end of 2015 to 2020, we're going to have a growth of 1.3 billion people that are using the internet on their mobile phones, right? 62% of the population in 2015, and that's going to increase dramatically. Now, Thailand is, even in this rapid growth environment, is doing incredibly well. Thailand has one of the highest rates of mobile internet penetration in the region. And among all of the middle-income countries, Thailand is well out in front. And this data is, I think, 2 years old, so it probably is doing even better now. So when I see this, I think enormous opportunity. I think that there is a space now, all of the issues that we had years ago about, well, you can't really reach that many people, these issues are really taking care of themselves now. So Thailand, for example, we see here, internet users are 67%, mobile subscriptions, 133% of the population. And active mobile social users are at 62% of the population. These numbers are very high. And they're growing enormously. So just in the last year, this is between January 2016 and January 2017, we had a 21% growth in internet users in the country. So Thailand is right now going through that transformation. How does this help? Can this help to transform some of the challenges that Thailand is facing now? I'm going to talk about a couple of areas, all right? The first area is about the middle income trap. Now, this is an issue that many people are talking about in Thailand right now. The Asia Foundation is starting a number of new programs looking at challenges around the policy environment, declining competitiveness, etc. But ultimately, Thailand is facing some real challenges. The model of growth that worked for many decades before, which focused on low-cost manufacturing and export-oriented manufacturing, that model isn't working as well anymore, in part because the costs, this is a natural progression, as many economists have shown. The costs of labor are increasing. The costs of many inputs are increasing in Thailand. And Thailand is no longer competitive with other providers, with other producers in the region. At the same time, Thailand is really struggling to move up the value chain. There's challenges around human capital, which I know we'll talk about more. So how can Thailand emerge from this being caught in the middle between growing competitiveness at the low-end side of manufacturing and trade in the region, but still struggling to compete with the upper-income countries in the region? Okay. Inequality, as we know, is a really major challenge in Thailand. Many of the numbers that have come out recently shows that Thailand is one of the most unequal societies in Asia. And that inequality is particularly acute between different regions of the country. So Bangkok really is the center of everything. And there's huge challenges for small businesses and people living outside of Bangkok to really succeed unless they move here. And as well, I'm going to focus a bit on how online platforms can transform the relationship between government and people. Okay. So middle income trap. Now, what I'm going to argue is basically that online platforms can do a few things that are not possible and that create enormous opportunities for addressing the core challenges of the middle income trap. So first, in many ways, those examples I was providing before, online platforms have the opportunity to unleash the innovation and entrepreneurism of Thai producers in a way that's not possible now. So the beauty of it is it's, in many ways, that because the barriers to entry fall so dramatically through an online platform like this, it allows for individuals, small firms, etc., to enter the market. So it's sort of a bottom-up growth. It's actually getting growth from areas that have been completely untapped until now. And so this, in many ways, I like to use the term unleashing. It's unleashing the potential, the untapped potential. And that potential particularly is out in the provinces outside of Bangkok. Okay. Second, in many ways, this can help to fuel, particularly in the Thai case, domestic growth. So while the international trade space perhaps may be getting more competitive, there's enormous potential for growth to be basically domestic consumption. We're seeing this in China, for example. And so in many ways, online platforms in the Thai context, I think, can help link producers and consumers domestically to help drive growth. And third, of course, by putting people online, by making people rely on the internet for their livelihoods, obviously it's creating a much broader base of technology skilled population, and it's creating a space for innovators and for developers to flourish as well, which is going to obviously increase that population. It's also helping to close the income gap. And the examples I gave before also show that the barrier, the incredible leap in terms of allowing people to get into the market that may not have been there before is particularly dramatic for those who are living or are either coming from poor regions or are living well outside of Bangkok. And so those are the people that we need to be bringing into the mainstream of the Thai economy. And that is critical for the stability and for the growth of the country and for getting out of the middle income trap. A World Bank report recently looked at this as well, that if you just increase the incomes of the lowest 40% of the population by just a small percent, that would have a significant improvement in the national GDP. And so, you know, when we think about growth, in many cases, we often focus on the engines of industry in the major cities, etc. But bringing people along as well can also help to both transform lives, but as well to stimulate growth. Okay, let me move on then. Okay, great. So let me give you a couple of examples of how this looks. This is, as I mentioned before, based on a study that we did working with Google that was released just a few months ago. You can find it on our website. And the idea was to look at how online platforms are making an impact on sustainable development goals and how they're transforming people's lives in Asia. And so we looked at cases from around the region. We didn't actually look at any Thailand cases, but I can show you a couple that are emerging. Okay. The first one is is an example of how an online platform called SafetyPin in India is being set up mostly by a group of women and community leaders who found that different parts of cities like New Delhi and Mumbai were becoming more and more dangerous. And this was a platform where people can put information, can provide information that talks about safety and security issues, crime, etc., in particular parts of the city. And then that allows people who are either going to move into a certain area or who are going to be walking through an area at night to find out how dangerous certain parts of the city are. It also has been a fantastic platform for linking people with government to say, look, we have a problem in this neighborhood and you really need to fix this problem. And so this has had a direct effect on public safety in some large Indian cities. Another example is in Indonesia. Indonesia, as you may know, has the largest democratic elections in the world. I think actually maybe India has the largest, but Indonesia is the second largest. Massive numbers of voters, etc., 187 million. And they have elections practically every month for different small local positions, etc. So this website that we as well helped to establish was basically helping. In each election, there's often dozens of different candidates, and so this was allowing voters to sort of understand what the different candidates, who they were, how they might be, you know, their different positions on different issues, etc. Okay, I won't go into this too much. This one is particularly relevant, I think, for what we're talking about here. Financial inclusion. I think online platforms have an enormous potential for financial inclusion. Even though growth has been significant in this region for many decades, there are still hundreds of millions of people that have no bank accounts, have no way of keeping their money, have no way of transferring funds, etc. This is a project that we supported in Vietnam, which allowed people in the most remote areas, places that had very little electricity and no internet connection at all, to actually have bank accounts that would allow small, for example, this lady is a shop owner. And in the past, of course, she would sell things and then have to keep the money under her bed or under her mattress, right? She had no way of getting credit to make purchases, to get new supplies, etc. And so she had none of the key financial services that we know are often critical for minimizing risk and allowing small businesses and enterprises to grow, right? So a program that we did with MasterCard and one of the largest banks, micro-enterprise banks in Vietnam, was create sort of a mobile banking sort of unit, which would go to remote villages and allow people to withdraw and deposit money, allow people to get credit, etc. So this is just one example, but there are dozens and dozens of examples in India and other places where platforms are really addressing financial inclusion problems. Another example is in Nepal. Nepal sends huge numbers of people to the Middle East and to other countries to work. And a lot of the people are coming from extremely poor areas of Nepal that often have never been outside of their village, let alone traveled internationally. Many of these people have no bank accounts, and their families back at home certainly have no bank accounts. And so transferring funds from Dubai to these small places has been extremely difficult. And as well, helping people understand how to manage money and how to transfer money is also extremely difficult. So people were going and working very hard and losing a lot of that money that they earned and not being able to benefit their families. So this website, which was linked to a very, very popular Nepali language social media platform, allows people to both set up them how to transfer money, how to save money, and as well helps them sort of understand and navigate tricky environments when they're abroad. So this is, I think, a really interesting example. Now, a couple of examples now that also are in Thailand. One program that we're working on right now is called Let's Read. Now, the idea here, the two groups here are basically minority children. For example, we're focusing on the Skok-Karen population in the northern part of the country. Many of these children do not have access to books in their own language. So they often can read Thai because they're taught Thai in the school, but have no access to books in their own language. And a lot of people in those communities are worried that their language is starting to fade, or that people are very committed to trying to find a way to preserve the language. And so what we've done is, working with a few partners, is basically create a platform where people can translate books, mostly children's books, into many different local languages. Thai, Skok-Karen, we're also doing this in Cambodia, in Indonesia, and one or two other countries. And then children can read these books using this online platform, and obviously it's completely free. We're just starting to release this. You can see here the different languages that are offered right now. We're hoping to expand that dramatically. We have about 100 books right now. We're hoping to get to 1,000 very quickly. It's also a fantastic way for people to learn other languages, as they can read the same book in multiple languages. All of this, of course, is free and reaching a population that currently doesn't have access to these types of things. Okay. A few that are more relevant here in Bangkok. There's a new website, I think it's about 1.5 years old, called Seekster. As those of you who live in Bangkok know, there's many different households and businesses are interested to bring in either people to help clean or to help do repairs in their businesses. Typically, we've all had to rely on sort of small, different businesses that sort of provide those services, right? But we know, for example, that a lot of the people that work for those services often are paid a very low wage, or maybe don't have very good conditions, etc. And it's not a great situation. We also know that there are tens of thousands of people who could potentially provide services like cleaning homes and doing more in-depth cleaning and repair work, etc. But we don't know quite how to find them. And we certainly don't know how to understand who does a really high-quality job versus the rest. This website is trying to address that problem by allowing individuals who can provide those services to sign up, to get screened, etc., and to have a way that they can be rated by different customers. And then is linking with customers, mostly small businesses and homes, who want those services but don't want to go through, the traditional companies. And it's creating that link also in a way that provides a much higher wage for the person providing the service. So, for example, 2 hours of cleaning in somebody's home is roughly 350 baht through this website. Whereas in most cases, that's about what they get paid the whole day. So this is a way also of improving labor standards and access to a living wage. Another example is in the messenger. So as we know, in every major city, there are a vast fleet of people who can deliver packages or parcels or letters or documents. But it's often difficult to know who to trust, who's going to do it on time, etc. This website, Scootar, allows people to both apply to be sort of screened messengers that can provide those services to local companies, and as well helps local companies find high quality messengers that can deliver it. Helps them find them quickly, usually within a few minutes, and helps also see a ranking of quality of different messengers that allows them to really find the best ones. Okay, now, so those are two examples that are already up and running, that are really performing well. In many ways, this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of potential. But there are, from the examples I gave before, my view is that there's vast potential that is almost entirely untapped right now for drawing small businesses and micro businesses into the mainstream Thai economy. And one thing that the Asia Foundation and others are doing right now is to try to understand, why is it that we don't see more of a blossoming, more of an unleashing of different platforms that allows for those communities to be connected? In some cases, we're trying to do it ourselves, but ideally, it's about getting the enabling environment right so that we see local entrepreneurs and innovators actually doing this at scale. And so this is, I think, an issue that you'll be talking about a bit more later today. Okay. There also are significant social challenges in Thailand which can be addressed through online platforms. So as we know, flooding is a huge problem in Thailand. The Chao Phraya River Basin that we're all in right now is a vast floodplain which has been flooding for millions of years. We know that right now in the northeast, several provinces have been inundated, including Sakon Nakhon, the province I was talking about before. In 2011, when a huge swath of Thailand was affected by a major flood, there was a lot of frustration among the population that they found out about the creeping floodwaters too late, didn't have access to information. Government, particularly the Department of Disaster Prevention and Mitigation, is trying to provide that information, but in many cases the format is very difficult for people to use and access. It's often, for example, available through a PDF sort of map that's available on the internet, but it's difficult for people to find what they need and how their area is going to be affected. So recently, we organized a hackathon where we brought developers together to say, okay, here's the problem. We have information, floodwaters are coming down. How are we going to let people know about what's happening? How are we going to warn them in advance? And as well, how can we provide a way that people can provide information to government about what's happening in their areas? So the results of that were there was three different applications which sort of won the competition. One of which we're now trying to actually get up and running, working with the DDPM and a few others. And so, for example, this one's safety alert. People can apply online to say, okay, if there's problems in my area, send me an alert via SMS. It provides real-time information about where floodwaters are, the likely sort of expansion of floodwaters, etc. All of this relying on government information. And where we hope this goes is that it also creates a platform for people to send alerts to government about what they see in their area, but that's probably the next phase. Vari is another one which focuses mostly on the Bangkok area. This one actually uses video cams, which shows floodwaters in different areas, and people can see that visually based on different geographic areas that they can search. Okay. Finally, one other application which we think is very promising here in Bangkok is called Upian. Now, those of you who live in Bangkok know that while most of the highway infrastructure is fantastic, occasionally some of the smaller sois can have a lot of holes and can have a lot of problems in those roads. This is a website that allows people to identify where on the roads or the local infrastructure, the telephone wires, etc., the electricity poles, where there are problems that need to be fixed, and send that directly to the Bangkok Metropolitan Authority. And I know that BMA has been involved in this. So this is really just starting, and I think it's very, very promising as a way for citizens to inform government about challenges. I know, for example, my colleague said there's a road very close to our office that for years had lots of potholes and was very, very difficult to walk down, etc. Many people identified this using Upian, and within a few months, all of those potholes have been fixed. So it's a great way to improve the relationship between people and government. Just a few words on what we're planning to do in this space of online platforms. We think, as I mentioned, that there is huge potential here, and we think that there's a lot of ways of addressing some of Thailand's core challenges using this approach. So some of the areas that we're planning to work on are to try to identify issues or problems or opportunities that can be addressed using online platforms, and trying to bring together developers and businesses and government to try to put those platforms out there, make them sustainable, and bring a critical mass of users to them. So the Let's Read sort of literacy project is one example, but we're very actively looking for other examples. A personal passion of mine is that example of handicraft makers in the Northeast. We heard many people tell us that there's a program here called OTOP, which is run by the government, which basically tries to promote local producers of local goods, organic products, and handicrafts. But many people told us that the fairs or the opportunities that government often supports that brings producers together with suppliers, they're not selling anything anymore. They're not working to actually link customers and producers. So online platforms could potentially do that in a way that's much less expensive and much more transformative. So these are some areas we'd like to explore, which is as well linked to the second one there around. We think that these kinds of platforms have the potential to unleash small business entrepreneurism in the country. On a regional level, we're also just about to launch a project which is going to look at regional networks for platform entrepreneurship and growth. And part of this will be looking at the enabling environment in individual countries. What can we as international partners do to help countries create a better enabling environment? And how can we bring developers together to really address some of these challenges in each country? So let me leave it there. I'm not sure if we have any time for question and answer, but thank you very much for your attention. Should we do questions or we should just...
ครับมีใครมีคำถามอะไรไหมครับโอเคครับผม Thank you very much.
Okay.
Our speaker from Asian Foundation, Mr. Thomas Park, for giving an useful and insightful speech to all of us. โอเคครับแล้วช่วงต่อไปนะครับผมจะเป็นการพักเบรกนะครับ15นาทีนะครับผมก็เดี๋ยวจะกลับมาพบกับการบรรยายช่วงต่อไปนะครับก็ let's take a break for 15 minutes and we will come for another interesting session.